What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is it's not Thursday, Friday, January 31st, 2025, last day of January. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside their occupation. I have a special guest that's coming on with me today. Her name is Lindsey McPherson. She is a Capitol Hill reporter based out of Washington, D.C. for the Washington Times. She has been a Congress reporter and has had multiple stops in the D.C. area in journalism. We're going to talk to her about her why of getting into journalism and also get to know her with some fun questions. So without any further ado, I introduce you the wonderful and the talented Lindsey.
Hello.
Good evening, Lindsey. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I just want to say thank you for joining my podcast. Work hard, play harder. Apologize for the lateness. I just want to also say, how is your weekend going?
It's so far so good, I guess.
Okay, okay, got you. Has it been a busy week for you this week?
A little bit, not too crazy in the scheme of things, but it's
Okay.
a busy time covering the Congress, obviously new Congress, new president, new administration. So,
Absolutely, and obviously that tragedy that happened just a couple of days ago with
right, the plane crash here.
Mhm.
It's horrible.
Absolutely, absolutely, no question. I want to reiterate to you, Lindsey, why I wanted to have you on here. I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist for the past 7 years. I worked in publications in Atlanta, and I also moved out here to Minnesota. Worked in publications here. Now I'm a freelancer. My genre was sports. So I covered high school sports, college sports, and now I'm doing professional. I love talking to different reporters reporters in different genres and talking to them about their why. Everybody has a story to tell, including you. Your story is no different or no different than anyone else's, and it's just as special as anyone else's. So I love getting to know reporters, and I love getting to know their why. And my first question to you, Lindsey, is the same as it always is with everybody on my podcast, and that is, what is your why of getting into journalism? Did you have any role models, any inspirations, maybe growing up early as a kid? What is ultimately your reason for getting into the journalism space?
hmm So for me, it was less about role models and, growing up admiring a specific journalist. Obviously, I respect, journalists of all stripes, but it was just a class I took in high school, a journalism course that we had at my high school, and um, really got into it that way. In the course, you kind of produced the school newspaper within the class, and I was a writer for the newspaper, and I just enjoyed it. And I was like, well, this is something I could see myself doing. So I was like, I'll major in journalism in college, and it kind of progressed from there. I was very fortunate, I guess, to discover that early on. I know a lot of people head into college without a real clear idea of what they want to do, or they maybe have an idea and then they switch majors and this and that, and or end up on a different career path where I've been very fortunate that kind of I figured it out and have stayed on that path ever since. It's not been an easy path. We can get into that more, but it's been overall rewarding. I mean,
I'm glad to hear that. Now, was it always politics? Was it always that genre? Did you not want to do sports or new or maybe news or entertainment or something like that? Was it always kind of like Congress stuff that you were interested in?
so not necessarily. I mean, in that high school course, I was a feature writer, which is funny because I think now that's kind of one of my not total weakness, but it's definitely not my strength as a reporter. I'm a little better at kind of the harder news and just regular reporting than I am just feature writing. So it's kind of ironic now to think back to that, but it was in college where I went to the University of Maryland, so very close proximity to DC and politics. And at Maryland, they, encourage you to take internships, and they also have a program there, the Capital News Service, which has it's a course credit program where you can either work in a we have it in Annapolis Bureau, which is the state capital of Maryland, so covering state capital, and then they had one in DC covering the federal government. So I worked in the DC Bureau of Capitol News Service and kind of covered Congress. But before that, I had an internship at the Buffalo News Washington Bureau. So just basically their bureau chief, Jerry Zaremski, he's still there, still works for the Buffalo News. Great reporter.
Hmm.
Worked under him and learned a little bit about covering Congress from him, and then also did through the CNS program. And so that's kind of how I got my interest in it. And I think decided to stick with it when I applied for jobs after college because I liked it enough. And I thought it was important in terms of like, obviously all news is important, but I think
Right, right.
me, the inspiration at the time was, people need to be informed when they go to vote and like on what's happening in their government. And I thought it was an important kind of public service to be sharing that type of news.
Absolutely, no question about that. You mentioned it before. You went to the University of Maryland. Talk to me. Were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to the University of Maryland, or were you just dead set on going there?
No, I was actually dead set on not going there initially because I grew up down the road. University of Maryland College Park was about 15 minutes away from Laurel, Maryland, where I grew up. And I, like any normal teenager, wanted to get away from my parents and have some distance and independence and, love my family. And I didn't think that was far enough. Like, obviously, it there's, it's cheaper to go in state. I had a full ride scholarship to the University of Maryland. They have a great journalism program. But
They do.
regardless of all that, I really just wanted to get away. So initially I was interested in Columbia in New York. I got waitlisted. I didn't get in. And I was very close to going to NYU because I liked the idea of New York, the city. I loved it, and I just really wanted to spend some time there and thought college would be a good opportunity to do that. I did get into NYU, but they didn't have like a particularly big journalism program. They had it as a major, but it wasn't like a great focus at that school. So it would have, I would have had to take out a lot more in student loans, or well, take out student loans, period. I didn't have to do that for Maryland, thank God. And it just financially for a lesser program didn't make sense just to get away from my parents. I still ultimately was able to have independence at Maryland, and my parents, funny enough, in my sophomore year ended up moving out of state anyways. So
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I listen. I love the city of DC. I love Union Station. Got a chance to go to a Nationals game out there. I love. I think it's called Silver Springs, Maryland.
Silver Spring, yeah, singular Silver Spring.
Yeah, yeah. I got a chance to go there. My brother did a co-op for his school, and one of the co-ops sent him down to Baltimore. So I got a chance to go down there and visit him with Baltimore. Y'all got a lot of 7-Elevens. I'll tell you that right now. A lot of 7-Elevens down there for sure. But it was pretty cool spot. So I certainly wouldn't mind relocating there and doing any kind of journalism because I did like the city. And I also like the double decker bus tour. That was pretty cool too. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. So
Never done the double-decker bus tour, but we definitely obviously have a lot of sights to see here and
mm,
um, good restaurants. Beyond this, there are a lot of 7-Elevens, but there's a
yeah.
lot of other fun stuff here too.
It was a lot, yo. There was so many. I was like, man, it's crazy. But I love that the double decker bus tour was something that was just so epic. I'll tell you a quick story before I get into these favorite questions I want to ask you. So my dad, my stepmom, and myself, we went and visited my little brother one of the years. He had a co-op there. We took a double decker bus tour. We went to a place called the Shake Shack. I've never been to the Shake Shack before I went to DC. It was my first time there, and it was over the 4th of July. We were in the Shake Shack eating, and then somebody ran across Union Station, where or not, or I believe it was Union Station area, and they said gunshots, gunshots, and it sounded like pop, 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 and then the Shake Shack employees hopped over the counter and ran out, and everybody's running out. And my stepmom ran out, but she did not drop her cheeseburger. She was running, but she did not drop the cheeseburger when she was running. My little brother was gone, and my dad was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" I said, "We ain't got time to figure out what's going on. Everybody running. We gotta run. We gotta go." It ended up being somebody set off fireworks in the station, and then the whole TV people came
Inside the
down
station?
inside the
Oh,
station.
wow.
Yes. TV people came out there. Like 20 minutes later, we're running down the street. And of course, my stepmom still has her burger in her hand. She's eating it. I'm like, Lord have mercy, if that was real gunshots, what the hell are you doing with the burger
Like a
in your hand?
burger.
She just she had a grip on that burger. She was like, I just paid for this. I was like, okay, I'm moving on. I'm not even going. I'm not even
Well,
going there.
thankfully, it wasn't real gunshots. There is like a funny, but not really funny joke in DC about like identifying, is it gunshots, is it fireworks? You know, like that's because people, one, love to set off fireworks here, particularly in the summer, but it's not just around the 4th of July. It's like all summer long when it's nice out and sometimes other holidays too, you know. But yeah, so it's kind of, you have to learn to identify them. And even now, you know, you still get off from time to time, but you would never
Right.
expect fireworks to go off in a building. That's different.
Absolutely, no
Just
question.
outside in the neighborhood.
That was crazy. That was a crazy day for sure. Lindsay, I want to ask you some favorite questions. You just give me the 411 off the rip based upon these favorite questions that I have for you. So, are you ready?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
That I like to cook. Okay, that's a good question. I do cook, but I don't know that I have a favorite meal. I do this nutrition program now, which is kind of like relatively simple meals, but high protein, a lot of vegetables. Like, so I do a lot of stir fry type things, like combining vegetables and meats. They do have a recipe on it that I really like. It's called a Big Mac salad. So it's like a salad, but based on the Big Mac. It has ground beef and pickles, and you'd think that'd be weird on a salad, but it's actually really good. So that's probably one of my go-tos. But
I feel it. I feel it. That's probably, you know what? And that does sound good until you said the pickle part. When you
oh,
said
you're
the
not a
pickle
pickle
part,
fan?
yeah, yeah, no. I've tried and I tried so hard, but no, I just can't convert over. But that's okay. That just means it's more pickles for the people that love it.
I would
And
say, yeah, I've always been a pickle fan. So it's a kind of a very hit or miss food, though. People either love them or hate them.
I feel that. I feel that. I'm a taco person, so when you say ground beef, I love that. I normally use turkey ground beef and cook my tacos, so definitely love that for sure. Favorite meal, not favorite meal, favorite concert that you've ever attended.
Ever. Wow. Okay, that one's tough too. Um, Probably, I mean, and this is just the nostalgia of it all, but my first concert I saw was an NSYNC concert growing up, and I think that would probably still be my favorite just because, you know, that's the time in my life where I appreciated music the most and was really into it. I'm not the biggest music person now. I
Mhm.
did go to a couple concerts this year. I actually saw Justin Timberlake and I saw Missy Elliott. She came through DC on my birthday actually. So that was fun.
Okay. Okay. I'm with you on that. I like that. You got some flavor in you. Okay, I love that. Missy Elliott, Justin Timberlake. You took me back to my what elementary slash middle school days when you said in sync. I was like, okay, that's what's up. I like
Exactly.
that.
That was like the all the rave when I was growing up was the pop boy bands and
Oh, for sure. For
Spears and
sure.
that was the era. But and so yeah. It'd
For
be great if
sure.
they did a reunion tour. I would definitely go to that. That would be interesting, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
That's what's up. I like that. I'm a huge Alicia Keys fan, so Alicia Keys concert was definitely one of my favorites to attend and go to for sure. So yeah, definitely on that.
Yeah. And in
Okay.
general, we had a couple years ago the Something in the Water festival that Pharrell hosts. He had moved it up to DC because of an issue he was having with Virginia at the time. And so I went to
Hmm.
that and there were a lot of cool, I mean, people there. Obviously, Pharrell was there, Usher was there, Ja
Mm.
Rule and Ashanti. That's a big throwback for me. Um,
Wow. Yes, it
yeah.
is. Okay.
So
You
Dave
taking me
Matthews
back
Band,
on that.
a good mix of people, yeah. So that one was
Hmm.
fun.
Love
As
me some Ja Rule. Love me some Ashanti. No doubt about it. I like that. Okay, that's what's up. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Portugal. I went there, was it about,
Mm.
I think 2 years ago now. Was there for 2.5 weeks. With a friend of mine and her boyfriend, and we spent the time kind of going from Lisbon up to the coast to um Porto is the way they pronounce it, but Americans would call it Porto. Um, then wine country, they have a nice Douro Valley out there, which is gorgeous, but some great wines. Obviously, the port wine they're known for, but other good wines too. And
For
everything
sure.
like food and drink is so cheap there. You could like get a bottle of wine at the store for like 4 or 5 euro, and it would still be good, not like quality wine. Not to say, we can get cheap wine here too, but it's usually a little less.
I feel you. I feel sometimes the places that you go is just amazing to get that type of wine and experience that type of culture. Portugal is definitely something that's on my bucket list. I've been to Jamaica. That's probably my favorite place. Eating their jerk chicken was something different. I mean, I just love their jerk chicken. It was amazing. But
Yeah,
just
I've
that,
only been to Jamaica too a couple years, actually during the pandemic, during 2020. And yeah, you could get just jerk chicken off the street, like, and yeah,
good,
it
you
was great.
could. It was definitely the move, no doubt. So just got my passport in 2024. So I'm gonna be exploring a whole lot. I'm going on a cruise in June to Greece. So I cannot wait to get to Greece. Try some of them either gyro, whatever the hell it is. I'm gonna try that thing for sure, no doubt.
Greece is definitely on my bucket list. I'm actually going on a cruise, my first cruise this year too, or my friend and I are going to a cruise in Alaska to kind of see the sights in Alaska, so that'll be fun.
Oh, okay, okay. Now is that gonna be in the summertime or towards the end of the year?
Summertime, like late August, yeah, which is
Well,
apparently a good time to go.
absolutely, no doubt, no doubt. I love that. I'm a sports person, so I'm going to ask you a sports question.
Okay.
Favorite sport you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to attend in person? They could be the same sport.
Yeah. So I don't really watch any sports on TV these days, but in college, in person, I love to go to our college basketball games. My friends and I would like line up early to get the front row seats, and got really into it. And even for a couple years, about 2 or 3 years after college, I had season tickets and would go back to watch the Maryland games. But that just became hard to keep up with my schedule. It's just too many games and stuff to keep up with. But
I feel you on
I
that.
still appreciate basketball as a sport. That would probably still be the one I would watch if I were to watch a game on TV. But um, not a big football fan, which is I know controversial. But
A little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. That's all right.
I do
Basketball is
watch I do watch the Super Bowl every year, usually with friends. But that's the only time I really watch football. So
absolutely, absolutely. No, I'm a huge basketball fan, so definitely want to see that in person. The atmosphere, the arenas is much smaller. You can definitely see and just feel the energy in the arenas. Football, I do like watching, but I want to watch that on TV because the stadiums are just too big. If you don't really have great seats that are
yeah,
close, they all look like midgets on the field or small people on the field for sure. No question about that. So I love that. Lastly, I'm a huge foodie person, Lindsay. So please tell me your favorite restaurant that you like to eat there in DC.
probably have a few, but the one that comes top of mind is we have a restaurant called Rasika, which is like a modern twist on Indian food. I mean, it's definitely Indian food, but they do some unique things with it, and I just tastes great. And Indian food is just one of my favorite kind of cuisines to eat out. I, haven't mastered cooking it or anything. So when you asked earlier the meal to cook, that's kind of like Indian food would have popped up as my favorite like food, but not necessarily food to cook. But I enjoy eating it, and so
If they can take the spice out of Indian food, that'd be good because spice ain't nice with this backside. It just ain't nice. Um, you know
I
that
do
that
like
that
spicy food, so that's kind of one of the reasons I like it, I'd say. But
I feel it. I feel it. Like I said, if there's some food that I can get on that menu that has a little less spice, I would definitely check that restaurant out. But I do know next time I do touch down in DC and you're there, I'll have to say hello to you for sure, no
yeah,
doubt.
great.
Um,
And I think they can make them like milder, like at most Indian places do offer that as an option. I'm not sure about Rasika one offhand, but I believe they have a couple milder dishes.
say less. I'm with you on that. Okay, let's get into your day to day. Now, as I know, as you know, journalists, our days are never the same. We're always covering something different, doing something different, no matter what the genre is. And sometimes we work crazy type hours. You know, the people that are not in our journalistic, realm or industry, people that work a business type job cannot understand our schedule. They'll never understand our schedule. They can, you know what I mean? It just our schedule is so different and it differentiates day to day. Talk to me about how you prepare yourself going in. What type of things do you do day to day working at the Washington Times as a reporter?
So because I cover Congress, there's definitely like some fluidity to the schedule, but there's also some consistency. So Congress is rarely in session. On the weekends, typically there's kind of a vibe where like they don't come in until late on Monday evenings. Like the Senate usually has a first vote of the week at 5:30, the House at 6:30, and then they're usually gone by Thursday. And so there's kind of a cadence to the week that has changed a little bit at times if they're really busy. And the Senate this year has, already worked one weekend to get through some of Trump's national security nominees confirmed, and they
Right.
had threatened to work a lot more weekends, but they did take off yesterday and we're not in session today, so that the threat didn't last that long. We'll see how if they give the Fridays back in the future, but so there's at least some, I guess, preparation. But when they get into a big legislative negotiation, that's when the schedule can get a little crazy, where you can be working late nights, or maybe they'll stay over the weekend and negotiate things. But luckily, that's not too frequent, and it does provide at least some level of certainty to the schedule. So you kind of know going into the week what's on the agenda for the week, both in terms of things that they're voting on the floor, but things that they're negotiating for the future as well. There is always unpredictability, like we talked about earlier, the plane crash, so getting people's reaction to that. Um, just news events, like, and particularly in the Trump administration, it's a common thing for reporters on the Hill to get their lawmakers' reaction to kind of whatever Trump is saying and doing, which, because it's usually just unexpected and out there, and this has been kind of that, similar to his first term, but almost like a little more wild in terms of the executive orders he's putting out, are a lot.
Sure, sure. I feel you on that. Now, I want to ask you about mental health and work-life balance, right? Because when you're working in Congress, you're working on hard stuff, hard news stories. Sometimes, it can be overwhelming. Sometimes you can feel burnout when you're doing the same thing over and over again. Like, this is what we love to do as journalists, but when you're going 100 miles per hour all the time, sometimes it's hard to hit them brakes all of a sudden, right? So, in a work-life balance, we work through holidays, right? News never stops. It's 365 days, 24/7. Seeing your family, sometimes you miss events, you miss celebrations, you miss weddings, you miss your friends. But this is the life that we chose, and you sacrifice for those things, but it's still hard. Talk to me about how you keep your mental health strong, but also still have that work-life balance to be able to be a personable person to go out and have a life, and also have some Lindsay time by for yourself.
I definitely struggled with it, and I still do to some degree, but a little less so than I did when I was younger. I'd say like in my first 10 years, even covering Congress, maybe like 8, whatever. Um, I really, yeah, I was all in, like, this is, I'm gonna focus on this and always choose work before anything else, I felt like. And I worked at a company for 8 years, CQ Roll Call, which, is a pretty popular congressional publication in terms of, like, they have a big Congress focus. It's pretty well known, um, as a good nonpartisan source of Congress. And I enjoyed working there, but I definitely feel like I worked harder and pushed myself to limits that other reporters there didn't. And not to say they weren't doing a good job, but I feel like I just went above and beyond what I needed to do the job. And
Sure,
I think I could have done a little less, and still been fine. And then the disappointing part of it all is that in June 2023, they did some layoffs at the parent company fiscal note that affected more of the company writ large, but they did a layoff 3 of us in the newsroom, and unfortunately, I was one of the people they chose to lay off.
oh,
It came
okay,
as a big shock because of how much I feel like I did compared to some of the other people in the newsroom, and I think even my colleagues at the time told me they're like absolutely, in awe that I was one of the people that was laid off. And it came right in the middle of a big debt limit fight, in Congress that I had been covering and taking the lead on. And was right at the time. So my beat had changed there. Obviously I've always covered Congress, but had different beats within that. Uh,
sure,
and so at times, this is a policy focused publication for the most part, but I had been a leadership reporter at different times. And to cover the leadership there is a little more, I guess, elusive to the higher ups. I'd just been put back on that beat after working for the budget and appropriations team, which is definitely the budget and appropriations process is a thing they make a lot of their subscription revenue off as people who are interested in that. So when they
Mhm.
allowed me to move back to leadership, I was excited because like I was, still covering budget and appropriations because that was still a big topic, but got to cover other things. But then it was like later that year that I got laid off. And I think the title of that, I think is like when the people in the company who aren't necessarily at the higher ups making the decisions and don't really necessarily read the publication on a day-to-day basis, probably didn't realize how much work I was doing. They're just looking at like what makes money and subscription revenue. That is my best guess, anyways. I never got a real explanation, but it just was very defeating mentally with my mental health. And then, so I
Absolutely.
was very fortunate to find a new job pretty quickly at this startup called The Messenger. But then the, that started in June and then it collapsed and literally, so I didn't realize when we were going to tape this. Today is January 31st. This is the year anniversary of The Messenger shutting down.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, a year ago The Messenger shut down. So I'd been there less than a year from June to January 31st. So however many months that is, seven-ish.
About 7 months. Yep.
Yeah. So it shut down decent, not totally abruptly. We had we'd known they were running out of their initial starting funding and we're trying to raise another round, but the owner was pretty confident about being able to raise it. And then all of a sudden there's a story in the New York Times saying we're about to close. And we all, no one had told us yet. We read it in the New York Times. They did eventually tell us like an hour later that yes, this is true.
Wow.
We are shutting down effective today. None of you have jobs anymore. You know, there was no severance. There was, nothing other
So
than like,
abrupt. Oh my
yeah,
God.
it was very abrupt. We actually have formed a class action lawsuit arguing that they violated the WARN Act because you are supposed to give 60 days notice in the event of a closure like that. So we will see
Without
where it
question.
goes. But it, yeah, definitely like two basically layoffs, if you will. One, wasn't the whole company and the other one was. But regardless of how it happened and the circumstances, to lose my job twice in the span of a year was really
That's tough. That's
hard
tough.
on my mental health. And I feel like I've come out of it a little bit, but the way I've come out of it is like approaching the work-life balance thing in a way that I wouldn't have before because I think I realize that any job is like fleeting and that I'm still gonna do a good job and give my, best effort, but I'm not gonna necessarily work 10 times harder than everyone else at a publication for little reward.
Sure.
So that's kind
Sure.
of what I've learned and to prioritize, yeah, taking the time off and when I need it and because you do a better job when you're not overworked and overstressed. So
Without question. No question. I appreciate your transparency on breaking that down. I really do. It's an important question, right? It's an important question to ask, especially with people in the journalistic industry. As we both know, being journalists, this is a very tough job. And when you get laid off, we already know that the money is not there when you first start out. So you grinding for nickels and pennies on a dollar just to be able to survive. But you're doing something that you love to do. And obviously, in your circumstance, for them to be as abrupt as they was and very careless in their communication. Um, yeah, that's pretty tough to have
yeah,
that back to back layoff for sure. But it also goes to tell you how much character you have. Because most people would break. Most people would probably break and definitely go through a spiral because they're like, wow, why is this happening to me? But you were able to bounce back. And now look at you
it
now
was
doing beautiful,
yeah, was
wonderful
close
things.
to breaking and close to looking at, maybe leaving journalism because I was unemployed for 3 months after that, or 3.5, or give or take, whatever it was. I
Sure.
think about 3 months by the time I had my job offer, I did take an extra couple weeks before I started the Times to wrap things up. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, but it seemed bleak for a little while. Like there weren't a lot of job opportunities covering Congress in particular, which I wanted to keep doing. And so I thought about, can I do something else in journalism? What would I do? Do I leave journalism? I mean, existential questions that I never would, fortunately, never had to answer. But at the same time, now I think I do struggle, even being back on it, like I still enjoy it, but I don't know that I enjoy it to the same degree I did before the layoffs. And maybe that'll go away with time, but I think I'm a little jaded now by it. So I still have those larger existential questions of, is this something I'm gonna do forever? Once thought it was. Now I'm not so sure. Um,
Hmm, I can
so
respect. I can respect that. Now, what is some advice, right? Even though you're kind of still on the fence, you're still doing it. There's still a passion still within it that you're doing it there. But what kind of advice would you give somebody that wants to join this journalism industry? Maybe that's a postgraduate, just graduated from school, or maybe that's an intern right now at the Washington Times or somewhere. What kind of advice would you give them?
good question. I mean, obviously, to be prepared for, in the industry in general, for it to be tumultuous and for there to be layoffs and to just go in
Mhm.
with that expectation. It's like, I guess I always knew that, but it's become more of a thing, particularly in recent years. At the time the Messenger shut down, many other publications were going through layoffs, the Wall Street Journal, the LA Times, other places were laying people off. So that's what compounded the problem too, is a lot of people were being laid off in the industry. Um, and just to go in with eyes wide open to that and understand that that's a thing. But in terms of like just to break into the career, I think a lot of journalism is about, it's kind of two things. It's your work product, like I think having a degree, this or that, it matters, but not really to the degree like it's what, so if you interning somewhere is definitely a good idea if you are trying to break into the industry, freelancing, doing things where you can write and get that experience and have clips to show.
Absolutely.
It's definitely clutch. And then obviously networking with people. And this is something I've struggled at in my career because like the social aspect of journalism, and that's one of the reasons I think I have this question about it, is like it's not that I don't enjoy socializing with people, but I don't like enjoy socializing to promote myself.
Hmm,
And like I feel like that's something I struggle with, is to kind of be out there promoting myself and to advance in my career. So, but if you have the personality for it, then great. And that's definitely a good way to kind of get involved in the industry, because a lot of it, especially like in political journalism, it might not be the same in sports or else, but like in
mhm.
political journalism, because a lot of it's concentrated in DC, there is opportunities like if for knowing people in person and having gone, different events or worked with people at different publications. I think the circle is kind of, you know, insulated, that you kind of do
Sure.
need to know people.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely. No, that's pretty. I love that answer. I really do. And yes, I'm a natural extrovert. There's no question about that. I love getting to know people and
well,
talking
yeah,
to
you do
them.
this podcast, I figure as much.
Absolutely. So, I love that. I love, just like I said, because you never know who you're going to meet that's going to even have an impact on you or that can possibly change your life down the road. Because there's a lot of people that you may run into. They say journalism is big, but it really is a small world. Like people are so connected with each other throughout this industry and throughout various cities that they come into. We run into each other all the time. So that's for sure. I want to do my interactive game now. It's called This or That. We've reached that podcast portion now where my game is basically I throw some things at you, Lindsay, and you get to choose this or that. I do that with all my guests here on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. So this is my second time asking you, Lindsay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Do you like chicken?
Yes.
Okay. Which chicken place would you rather eat at? Popeyes or KFC?
Popeyes.
Okay, we off to a good start. We off to a good start. I like that. When it comes to chicken wing flavors, which flavor are you putting on a chicken wing? Barbecue or lemon pepper?
Oh, that's a tough one, but I'd say lemon pepper.
Okay. Do you like your wings wet or dry?
So it depends on the flavor. Obviously, a lemon pepper is often a dry rub. It can be a wet, but like I like it as a dry rub. I like a, Old Bay dry rub on certain dry rubs. But overall, I'd say like the most choices I'd go wet, because most places don't do a dry rub well. So
Hmm.
you kind of can be disappointed by. But when it's done well, I do appreciate a dry rub.
Okay. Now, do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Typically bone in, but I'll eat either.
Okay, I'm
I
with
wouldn't
you.
eat a dry rub boneless. Like that would be weird, but
That's a little different. You ain't lying. You ain't lying about that one.
yeah, those would have to be a wet, yeah, sauce.
I'm a bone in type of guy. So give me a wet wipe, put some wetness on that wing, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to roll. So I'm gonna attack it for sure. I like that though. The next four questions are questions that are about music concerts that you rather attend. Okay, so here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? Chris Brown or Usher?
Sure, for sure.
Okay, I like that. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see Rihanna or Beyonce?
Ooh, Rihanna. I don't know if that's controversial, but I like Rihanna a little better. I
Okay,
love
going
B.
with
I'm not, no hate on B, but
I feel it. I feel it. You going with Riri? Okay. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
again, I don't know. It might be controversial, particularly with the Super Bowl. But I'm a Drake fan over Kendrick.
Okay, like Drizzy, I feel you on that. Drizzy got some hits
I
now.
I watched him on Degrassi before he became a rapper, so
Oh
the
Lord,
part is,
yeah,
yeah, that's like a throwback.
that certainly is. That listen to me, that was not a good look being in that wheelchair. I'm sorry, Drake. I'm sorry.
No,
No, not a good look. Okay, last of the music. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see The Weeknd or would you rather see SZA?
the weekend.
Hmm, got some good taste. I like that. Like that, Lindsay. Got some good taste. That's what's up. Do you like desserts?
I do, yes.
Okay,
Who doesn't
so
like dessert? That's a weird like thing not to like.
you be surprised. You be surprised. They've been on this podcast before. They say they do not like desserts. They're more of a salty person instead of a sweet person. That's what they say.
Well, I like both.
And thank the Lord you do. I'm with you on that. So I'm going to throw four categories at you. You get to choose one of these categories that you'll never eat again, as far as a dessert. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. First one is candy. The next one is cookies. The next one is cake slash pies. The last one is ice cream. So which one are you getting rid of that you'll never eat again?
I hate to do it, but candy. Can't get rid of
Mm,
ice cream. I could never get rid of, and I could get rid of certain types of cake and pies, but to the whole category, that's too tough. And same with
that's
cookies.
very
Yeah,
tough. I'm
yeah.
with you on that one, Lindsay. I would have said candy too. What is your favorite ice cream?
Coffee ice cream is one of my favorites. I also like, the classic cookie dough. Um,
Mm,
but
okay.
honestly, I like trying unique flavors. So like, like a specialty ice cream shop that has something different. I like to try something different. But if I
Yes.
was like buying a carton at the store, like coffee and choc or cookie dough are usually my go-tos.
Yes, I'm pretty original, so cookies and cream is my go-to, and I'll buy double stuffed Oreos and smash the Oreos within the cookies and
Oh,
cream so I can
nice.
get
Yeah.
both cookies.
Cookies and cream's a great one too. Yeah, I appreciate that.
No doubt. Now, you said you like both, so you like potato chips?
I do.
Okay, same format. Uh, four brands I'm gonna throw out at you. You got to choose one of these to get rid of. Okay, so here we go. The first one is Lay's. The next one is Doritos. The third one is Ruffles. The last one is Pringles. Which one are you getting rid of?
Ooh, I think probably Ruffles. Yeah.
Oh hell no! Oh no! Oh.
Also, Lay's has like a lot of things. I think Lay's has Ruffles under their brands too. But because you're talking about Utz Ruffles, right? Like Utz as a brand is like
Yeah.
not as good as Lay's as a brand to me. And I think Lay's makes some Ruffles. I'm not saying I don't like a Ruffle chip, but
Mhm.
as the brand, I think of all those, yeah, Utz can go.
Now,
Also,
are
Lay's
you?
makes good kettle cooked chips.
Yeah, those are the third worst chips ever made. Now are you a salt and
You don't like kettle cooked? That's offensive.
I'm sorry, your face had me.
Well, you also third worst is very specific, so now I need to know what the other two are.
Well, the other two is salt and vinegar chips. That's the second worst. And then the first worst is Funyuns. Whoever the hell made Funyuns need to just be slapped with
Oh,
the black and
that's
white side of my hand.
I really like both of those, so we're gonna have to be on
Oh
different
my.
pages on the chip front.
Well, listen, Lindsay,
I
you
also
got a
like
lot.
pickles, so I can see how you don't like if you don't like pickles, you don't like those flavors. Like I think they're same a similar flavor palette.
Well, Lindsay, you got a lot going on. You got a lot that someone could like, but you can't be perfect, damn it. I mean, you just can't be
I
perfect.
guess not, yeah. But
We got to disagree on something here. So, that's where we've met the match. But that's okay. That's totally fine. Maybe we will rebound with this question. Which sport would you rather play? Badminton or bowling?
oh, well, those are two really obscure ones. I'd say bowling. I'm probably horrible at both. I'm definitely not great at bowling. I've like hit the badminton before. I don't know if I've ever really played the game. I don't even know the rules, but but neither is probably my strong suit. So, but bowling would probably be more fun.
Okay, okay. Well, maybe we'll get back on track with this question. Which sport would you rather watch on TV? Baseball or hockey?
On TV, I'd say probably hockey. Like baseball to me is like a in person, you got a beer with like with some friends and you're just chilling watching in person game. Like I think it would be a little too boring on TV compared to hockey. It's a little more action.
Excuse me. Yeah, I do love Nationals Park. I love the fact Budweiser is all over that park, so that's pretty cool. I pretty like that. But yeah, I think you did pretty good with this or that, except your kettle chips. You can take those. That's okay. That is absolutely fine.
I will take them. You can have your Utz, your Ruffles.
Yes, yes. Sour cream and cheddar is the greatest chip ever made, in my opinion.
That
But
is a
I'm just
good flavor. That's true that they have it. Yeah.
very good, very good. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, here's a question I would like to ask all journalists. If it wasn't journalism, the career path that you had chosen to go down, what career path would you have chosen and why?
So there was a time I wanted to be a lawyer, so it's possible I could have done that. But at this point in my life, if I were to switch careers, I don't know what I would do. And that's kind of the tough part is, yeah, that existential question of like, is journalism it for me the long term? I think like I said, I question that now, but I also don't know what else I would do. So it's
Hmm.
a tough
I,
question.
I could
But
have
at one
saw the
point,
lawyer.
yeah, at one point I wanted to be a lawyer, but I also I'm glad I did not go down that path because I wanted what after college, I don't think I wanted to do another 3 years of law school. Like college was enough. So
I feel that. I do. I feel that. Although I am getting my master's in May, because I got the little bit of a teaching bug. I'll substitute teach out here in Minnesota as well. So, um, I don't do it every single day, but whenever they give the call and I want to do it, I definitely do that. But the kids are different. I don't know if I want to do elementary school kids. As adorable as they are, and they are adorable, they get sickly very fast.
yeah.
And I'm not really like that. I don't want to be around sickly children like that. I'd rather do adolescent, but I could see you kind of being a teacher. Am I way off on that one?
Yeah, just a little, only because I don't really like kids. I mean, I get maybe, yeah, maybe like high school level I could tolerate, but yeah. Well, actually, at one point, yes, at one point I did want to be like an adjunct professor, and maybe that is
Yeah,
something I would still want to do later in life. Because I had some good professors in college who, one of them is one of my first journalism professors, David Lightman. He still works for McClatchy in the Capitol, so I see him most every day now, and he was my
right.
freshman year college professor who taught me journalism is like I think it was journalism 101. So, and here
Right.
we are now kind of working alongside each other. It's really cool. So the idea of like, yeah, getting to do that one day, I guess could be fun. Yeah. So teaching in a different respect, but definitely, yeah, definitely not young kids. Not not for me.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking in a collegiate sense, maybe political science, maybe journalism, because you obviously have a lot of experience working in Congress and working around laws and bills and stuff being passed and stuff like that. So I definitely had that thought in my mind talking to
That's
you here.
true. I could teach courses on like the procedures and stuff in Congress. I think I could do that for sure.
Yeah, for
So
sure. I want to know what is some advice? 'Cause we talked about advice you would give someone, but what is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Ooh, I don't know if I have an answer to that one off the top of my head. I mean,
Hmm.
I guess, yeah, to be honest, like I said, not if I can't recall it, then there's nothing I hold that dear. I'm not saying no one's ever given me good advice over the years, but I guess nothing that I've clung to in that regard.
Okay. Okay. Now let me get a top four then. Let me get a top four of stories that you have done so far in your journalistic career that you're very proud of.
Mm. So, I mean, I've covered different events that I'd say are kind of cool to cover. So it's like a little different than like, am I proud to have like reported this, like broke this story on something. So like in terms of like coolness, like of things to cover, I've got to cover both of Trump's impeachments, and not because he was being impeached wasn't cool, but just it's a historical event, it's not every day a
Right.
president gets impeached. So,
Right.
definitely interesting to go through that process and witness that. Certainly, I think getting to interact with, yeah, lawmakers every day in general is pretty cool. The I was not at the Capitol on January 6th, 2021, thankfully, but
Mm,
I think
mm,
it's definitely influenced, journalism, and particularly a lot of us on the Hill, like whether you were there or not. But I mean, a lot worse for the people who were there that day. But
for sure.
covering stuff through the pandemic, I think there were some interesting stories. I did I think one thing I appreciate about political journalism when I can do it, and I wish I had more time to do it, but is when I can take a story like of something that is happening in Congress and talk to real people about like it. So during the pandemic, there was a big push. I mean, they did pass a lot of pandemic aid to help, businesses and people and stuff, but that after a while, some of the restaurant aid and other small business aid expired, but it was still pretty early. And some of those businesses were pushing for more help from the government. So I got to talk to a variety of business owners, and I thought that was an interesting story to do, just to kind of learn about their real life experiences. Because, I think you kind of get insulated in the DC bubble and sometimes forget to drive home what it means. I've been covering this bill that still hasn't made it into law yet, but it's called the Kids
Mm,
Online Safety Act, which is
right.
basically to crack down on like data algorithms that social media companies like Instagram use that kind of drive some inappropriate content towards kids. And so there's some basically regulations in this bill on that, and their parent advocates who I got to talk to, about their experiences with their children, unfortunately, who pass because of, either committed suicide or other. One did like something called the choking challenge that, the algorithms had driven his way and died. And so like tragic stories, but I think important to talk to those people to explain why this type of legislation is needed. So I do appreciate, I guess, when I can do reporting like that kind of connects things to real people.
I like that. I do. I want to ask you this bonus question. What is an event or a story, and you can give me one or two if you want to, that you would like to cover that you haven't done yet?
Mm. So not an event, not necessarily to cover, but I've not yet been to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and so that's kind of on my list, not to cover, but just to attend as a journalist. I think that would be cool. We have a
Yeah.
kind of a much smaller congressional equivalent that I've been to several times, which is fun, but obviously the big White House with all the stars and whatever, haven't done that. Maybe this will be the year. We'll see if the Times gets, a table or whatever. But so that would be cool. In terms of covering something, trying to think what I haven't covered, like in the political sphere that might, because I've got to cover a lot.
Well, what about something that's outside of your realm that you may help
Yeah,
out as
that might be easier to answer. I think one
yeah.
thing I had an interest in, and I just don't think there are a lot of reporting rules like that do stuff like this, but like um kind of various social justice issues. Like one example of something I'd be interested in covering is
Mm,
like people who have been wrongfully convicted, or at least, are fighting like the, the system being like I was wrongfully convicted, and kind of I'd love to help somebody kind of prove their innocence, like and expose that. That to me that there's so many injustices, and the system where people were wrongfully convicted. I think that would be one example of something I'd like to do. I don't know what kind of avenue there would be to do that, but um, that's a topic, I guess, that I have a personal interest in that I think would be cool to report on.
Yeah, I think that'd be amazing. I really do. I think you would do an amazing job on that for sure. We're coming towards the end of the podcast, Lindsay. So what we're gonna do is to do some rapid fire questions. Okay, so I'm gonna throw some things at you, and you just shout the first thing that comes to your mind with glee. So the last time I'm gonna ask you in this conversation, are you ready?
Yes,
Here we go. Burgers or tacos?
burgers.
Chicken or ribs?
Ooh, ribs,
Pancakes or waffles?
waffles,
What is Lindsay's favorite color?
blue.
Favorite TV show or Netflix series?
Ooh, I watch too much TV to come up with a favorite right now. Hold on a rapid fire way. Um, on Netflix specifically or any platform?
Any TV show. Could be on TV too.
Yeah, one of my favorites, I definitely probably have several favorites, but is this show on the MTV called The Challenge. It's a co reality competition show. Basically, it started initially with World Road Rules
Yep,
people,
real world road rules. Yep,
and now it's expanded
absolutely.
to other reality people come onto the challenge. But that's one that I like so much that I listen to like podcasts about afterwards. So I'd say it's probably up there on my favorite list.
I love it. Favorite alcoholic drink?
Oh, that's tough too, because I'm a big wine person. I really like wine, but when I go out, I typically drink cocktails more. So I like gin-based cocktails, typically.
Hmm. Okay, I like that. I'm a huge wine person too. Cabernet. I like white wine as well. Moscato. I like that. So I like that stuff too. Favorite sandwich?
That's also tough. I'm not a big like cold cut person, so like just a nice like fried chicken sandwich would probably be
I like it. I like it. It's very simple to the point. I like that.
no mayo.
Favorite.
So I'd prefer like a buffalo sauce or something. I'm not a mayo person.
Okay. Favorite board game.
That's also tough. I'm a big board gamer. I literally have probably 50 some games over here on my shelf. So I'm trying to like look like what is my favorite at the moment. I mean, one that people would know that I really like is Wingspan, Catan. Those are up there. But I have some like other, unique ones that I like. This game called Pan Am. It's kind of like Ticket to Ride a little bit, but like a little more complicated. So I don't know. I just love trying new games too. So like board games, yeah, that's kind of my big hobby outside of work because like I want to get into more and like find new people to play board games with. I just started a meetup group where to play games with people. I have friends that I play with, like, but you know, it's expand my circle. So
I feel it. I feel it. Okay. What's your favorite card game?
like a traditional that you could play with any deck of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably spades. I haven't played him
Okay.
forever though, but I yeah, do enjoy spades.
Yep. That's my favorite game. Spades and hearts are my two favorites. If you had a choice to choose between three artists or three songs that you would never get tired of listening to on repeat, who would those three artists or three songs be?
I'll do artist, because I definitely would get tired of listening to the same song. At least it'll give me a little expanse. I'd still say in sync, I think to this day, I'd still, it brings back the nostalgia for me.
Okay.
Definitely would put that in there. Usher. So yeah, when you ask me Usher, Chris Brown, it's no question. I love Usher. Lots of
Mhm,
good music. Definitely listen to him on repeat.
mhm.
Um, and then probably Taylor Swift. I mean, I like I'm not a Swiftie in the traditional sense, but she does have a lot of like good music that like, spans like, I feel like you want to get tired of it. She has got a big collection and like, you know,
Yeah,
it's quality.
absolutely.
But I wouldn't call myself a Swiftie to be fair. But
Those are three solid artists, no question about it. Love me some Usher too, especially for sure. Okay. If you had a choice to pick three people plus you, so a total of four, to go on a vacation, where would you go and who would you take with you? Now, Lindsay, you can choose family, friends or celebrities?
Um, so I'll start with people for sure. I would choose. I'm the fourth, right? You said so. Three other people. Okay,
Yes.
definitely my best friend Chris. She's the one I usually travel with, the one I went to Portugal with, the one I'm going on the cruise to Alaska with, without a doubt. She would be the one I want to travel with. We have
Okay.
similar travel like styles. We like to, eat good food, drink good things, and see sights and a good balance of the two. So I know I can travel well with her because I've done it before. Two
Mhm.
others is tough, to limit it to that because it is tough, but I'd probably say my mom. I have not traveled extensively with her, but we've gotten really closer, like at this point in our lives and have plans to do that soon. So, if I,
Okay.
and then maybe my other friend that I've known since childhood, Erica. We also
Okay.
haven't
Now,
traveled much together because she's got, a husband and a kid and they do their family vacations, but I think we would enjoy traveling together as well.
all right. Now,
Terms of
where
where
would
we
you?
go, yeah, that is a
Yeah.
tough question too. But Greece is on my bucket list, but I've wanted to save that for if I ever get married for my honeymoon. But so in terms of where else I want to go, Chris and I have talked about going to Puerto Rico. So, and I think that's one my mom and Erica would enjoy. So that, yeah, maybe
I
Puerto
would
Rico.
definitely love that. Oh yes, you will love it. No question. No question. Puerto
But I
Rico is
do
a
love
good
to
place.
travel. There's a plenty of tons of other places on my to go list. So, but
Okay. Okay.
pops up, top of my
I'm with you on that. Now, I'm gonna ask you this: which if they came and told you, because I want to phrase this right, if they came and told you, Lindsay, you can only cover one type of genre for the rest of your life outside of Congress, I'm going to give you four different
outside.
genres. Yes, outside of Congress, I'm going to give you four different genres: uh, entertainment, um, travel, and health, sports, music. Oh well, this goes with
That's more
entertainment.
than
Let me,
four, but yeah.
let me go with news, not political, but news. Those four genres. Which one would you pick?
I think it's a tough call between entertainment and travel because travel, like I said, I like to travel. So if someone wanted to pay me to do that and I get to write about it, that would be cool. But I also like to travel with people. So maybe wouldn't enjoy it as much just traveling on my own for work. And so I don't want to take
Mhm.
the fun of it out of it. So I'd probably say entertainment. I do like to watch TV, movies. Like, so if I could be like a TV like writer, like and write about shows I watch, that would be cool. Um, so
Okay, I can totally see that. I can see you doing that for sure. It's been a pretty dope conversation, Lindsay, learning about your beginnings in Maryland, in that area, knowing that y'all got a lot of 7-Elevens out there. But it's a great city, great spot to be in. My time there was definitely great. Going to the University of Maryland, graduating from there, um, and just learn about your beginning, your why, but also facing some adversity of losing your job back to back the way that you did, being able to bounce back and get back into the industry and be a force at the Washington Times. I'll be remiss not to ask these final two questions, but this next question here: how special is it for you to work in your home, your home, pretty much your hometown state of where you kind of grew up? To be able to report the news, how special that is, because a lot of people that do this journalism industry have to move away and start somewhere different.
that, yeah, I'm very fortunate that I did decide to go to the University of Maryland because I can't imagine if I went anywhere else, would I have gotten to politics? I don't think so. I think it was the opportunities, the internships that I had available close to me here that led me down this path and led me to stay in the area. And, I bought a home in DC. I live in DC now for life. I consider that, like even if I were to switch career paths, I don't want to leave DC. I love DC. So I do feel very fortunate to have, yeah, found a journalism home here, not to have to start over in a new place. There was a time when I was looking for journalism jobs, like because initially I graduated in 2009, which was like a tough, market.
Hmm.
Um, and so I did not start in journalism right away. I did proposal writing for a little bit. My dad was a proposal writer and kind of, had connections to get me an initial job doing it. But it's basically editing people's resumes to like put in government contract proposals for government contracts. Like whatever, it wasn't that exciting. But while I was looking for journalism jobs, while I had that job, I did look and apply to a couple different places that were out of state, and that was scary. I had to think about like going someplace new and um, setting up shop. So, and I'm so like, it sounds like you've done it and other people have done it, and I commend everyone who, yeah, can do that. And I'm not saying I couldn't have. I'm sure I would have made it work, but I am very thankful to, yeah, be able to live and work where I grew up and and with
Agreed.
people that I know, like
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that this is a question worth asking for sure. I think if I was in my younger 20s, now I'm in my 30s as well. We're close to the same age, you and I. So I think I can handle it a lot better. But in my early 20s, if I would have did this, I probably would have been freaking out because I'm like, man, this is a different place from where I grew up. I'm so used to the bigger cities. Our population here is 14,000. So it's very small. But at the same time, sometimes when you start out doing here and when you are here with these smaller cities, you get much more of an impact
that's
as
true.
well because the community really reads your stuff. They're all over every word that you write. And you also get to learn a lot of different things too on how to do things in journalism. So um, I'm
That's
grateful.
true. One thing we didn't talk about is there was a time, so when I did end up getting my first journalism job, it
Mhm.
was covering I worked for the Howard County Times out so in Maryland between DC and Baltimore. So it was suburban enough that it was kind of like, yeah, you have a community there that has a vested interest and you get to know people on a different level than you do in like covering a bigger city like DC. So I was thankful for that opportunity before I started covering Congress. To yeah, because it you do get to know people in a different way and they are very invested in the work in a way that I don't feel like since I've covered
Absolutely.
Congress, I don't interact with that many readers the way I did when I was working in a community journalism like that. So
Right.
it's it was cool to have like feedback from readers and know like people were reading your work. I'm not saying, I know people read it. I get emails on occasion, but not that many comparatively. So I
Right.
had that experience too.
I love it. I love it. As I always do with every guest that I have on here, Lindsay, the final question of the podcast episode is there anything else that you would like to add about yourself, your job, before we conclude?
I did just add in part of the experience we hadn't touched on because so yeah, the progression to Congress wasn't immediate from college to working and covering Congress. I did have that break in community news. So I was, like I said, I was thankful for that. And then that
Mhm.
is a good place for people to start too. Unfortunately, there aren't as many community papers. The Howard County Times that I worked for is not really as big of a thing. I don't even know if they publish the paper anymore. I honestly don't know 100%, but I know they definitely had cut staff and kind of folded
They
it.
are decreasing for sure, no question.
Yeah. And so the opportunities in that are unfortunately fewer and far between. But yeah, in terms of myself, I think we've covered a good amount of things. So yeah, I don't think we covered it.
I appreciate that. Listen, I appreciate you hopping on my podcast again. You've been absolutely lovely to talk to. I'm a new fan of yours. Please stay in touch. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening and weekend. And once again, we will be in touch.
Yes, and we'll agree to disagree on the potato chips, but I'm glad we do have other things in common. And I know
Uh,
you kind of balked at my burger taco answer, and I do like tacos too. That one was a hard one. I know you're a taco fan, so
mhm.
but in the moment I felt burger. But there I feel like that question I could go either way depending on when you asked me.
Oh, so no. The only thing we disagreed on is the potato chips. That's it. Other than that, you are absolutely wonderful and then some. That's all I got.
And if you do ever come to DC, let me know. Hit me up for sure. It's
Certainly
been
will. I
great talking
certainly
to you.
will. It was wonderful talking to you too, Lindsay. You take care now, okay?
All right, thanks, you too. Have a good one.
Mhm.